What's going on, guys? Welcome to the LowKick MMA Weekly Roundup. I'm your host, Ryan Galloway, and joining me is Jordan Ellis. Jordan, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Not too bad. You had a late card this past weekend, didn't you? It was back to normal time, which is bad times for you, but good for me. How's that?
Yeah, it took some getting used to, especially when you had a couple of dull fights in there as well. So they never help. But good card overall. Back to what we're used to now as Europeans. We had a couple of good weeks, and yeah, back to what we're used to. So hopefully we'll get a few nice ones down the road before the year's out.
Hopefully. And obviously, the main event in this one was a great fight, so it was worth staying up for. Number 1 ranked Thiago Santos taking on number 3 ranked Glover Teixeira. Glover Teixeira, in his old age, at 41 years old, just looking incredible, coming back and defeating Santos, who I think probably 90% of people had picked to win this fight. I think in our staff picks, most of the people, if not all of them, had Santos to win this one. I didn't write in the staff picks, but I thought Santos was going to win this one. So it was pretty surprising to see Teixeira come out there and just dominate the way he did.
Yeah, it was amazing, and I did do the staff picks this week, and I felt bad picking against Glover, but I still there's just things with him that he's doing, things that kind of defy logic. Where he looked done. A few fights ago before he started this streak, he didn't really look like. Even while he's been on the streak, I don't think he looked like he would ever get back to this level. When Gustafsson hit him with about 30 uppercuts in a row, I thought that was him done. In terms of being at the top level, but he's just turned it around. He's turned it around amazingly, so it's just all credit to him because he's 41 years old, and he's beat one of the best guys at light heavyweight. I thought Santos was going to be the guy to dethrone Blachowicz, so that's how highly I rate him. And I don't think Santos looked bad in this fight either. He come out, he tested the chin of Glover, but Glover just survived. Relied on his wrestling and then just showed the killer instinct to get the fight done. But Santos was not, in any way underperformed here. He looked great, even though after the injury layoff, he was able to do what he does. It's just Glover just was relentless with it, and it's just I'm running out of good things to say about him because it is that impressive, and I really hope he gets the title shot because I think he deserves it.
Yeah, and like you said, Santos came out in this fight. He looked incredible himself. In that first round, it looked like he was going to end it early. He came in there and landed some big shots and was landing a flurry on Glover where it just looked like it could have been stopped there, but he managed to rally through that and get the takedown and just dominate position for the rest of that round. That was the key moment where I thought the fight might become one-sided, which it didn't, in all fairness. But once I saw how easily Glover Teixeira was able to control him on the ground and get him to the ground when he wanted to, that was going to be a key part to his victory. And it definitely was at the end of that first round. And then the second round was just all domination by Glover. Right at the end, he had that choke. 5 more seconds, and that would have been over. Santos would have gone to sleep. I think he saw the time or heard the taps, and he knew I just have to hold my breath and hold off until the bell goes. And he did, so props to him. And then in the third, he comes out and lands a massive shot, puts Glover down, jumps on top of him, lands these massive elbows. But crazily enough, Glover was able to stay composed, get on top, and choke him out. So, like you said, there's not enough good things you can say about Glover right now. He's in the best parts of his career. That was probably the best he's ever looked in his career, in my opinion, aside from the adversity he had to fight through. In terms of getting Santos to the ground, we didn't even see Jones be able to do that. Jones shot him a couple of times and wasn't really successful in controlling him on the ground, whereas Glover was doing it with ease. So this does really set me up to want to fight between Teixeira and Blachowicz more than I want to see Israel fight, but I won't really get into that right now. I want to say 6-fight win streak I think he's on. He's looked incredible in his last 2. He's fought through adversity. It would be very hard for me to pick against Teixeira in a fight against Blachowicz.
Yeah, he's looked fantastic. I think it's 5 now, but the last 2 he was heavy underdogs going into them, and he's 41 years old. Everything's against him. I thought we'd had the best Glover we've ever seen. He's just relentless with everything he does now. The wrestling, he did dominate large portions of this fight. He was able to get on the ground, and when he's there, he's not content to sit in position. We've seen a few people do that, where they're happy with the position, and Goodell is one of them. She was happy just to kind of stifle her opponent, whereas Glover, he gets on top and he's trying to knock your head off, and it's just it's really impressive. And I don't know where it's come from. I don't know what's going on, but he's the top contender. Again, I'm probably like even now picking it early. I'm going to pick against him in a title fight against John just because he is very hittable, and at some point, your chin's going to give out. I thought his chin was done, but it seems to be getting better. I don't think you can let Jan Blachowicz just be teeing off on you. And if Santos was able to get a bit more momentum with his shots, he probably would have got the finish as well. So I feel stupid again for even saying it, to pick him against him in the third fight in a row. I'm sure he'll pull another upset, but I really do hope he gets that title shot because he is 41. How long has he got left? Whereas Stylebender, he is, he's a young guy. He's only just come to the top. There's no rush. Like, no one's clamoring for Stylebender against Blachowicz. No one's like, this is the fight we've got to see. He's got stuff to deal with at middleweight still. I don't think there's a rush for that, whereas there is probably a rush for Glover. And I hope, the UFC just... I'm sure, Stylebender represents more money and things like that, but, just in all fairness, to someone like Glover, why make him wait another year or whatever for a title shot at 41? I hope he gets it.
Well, I mean, the thing is that Israel was saying he didn't want to wait for Rob because Rob wouldn't fight in the start of the year because he's having a child and whatnot. The funny thing I noticed in an interview that Ariel did with Jan Blachowicz, he's in the exact same situation. He's having a child. He won't fight again until March. So Rob said he'll come back in March. Jan's going to come back in March. My idea, I don't know if they'll do it, but you just do Teixeira and Jan when they come back and do Rob against Izzy, and then the winner fights the winner if you want to do that, or you do the Jones super fight. But I think more likely we will see Izzy fight Jan, just because for the UFC and their business, that's the bigger fight, right? No one's going to, when I say no one, I mean the amount of people that are going to buy a Stylebender pay-per-view aren't going to buy a Teixeira versus Blachowicz pay-per-view, which is sad, but it's the truth. And I think Teixeira definitely does deserve a title shot, not only for his streak and the way he's beat his last two opponents, but like you said, he's older. He might not have long left in the sport. What a better way than give him this last shot at the title? If he loses this one, I can't see him making another run. So hopefully they go with that. What do you think the chances we see that over the Israel fighter?
I think the Blachowicz fight was kind of born out of, Stylebender's desire to fight, rather quickly, as you just said. It looks like April for both Whittaker and Blachowicz at this point. I don't see... I just think that he can wait. I just feel like Stylebender can wait. I don't think there's any desire for a lot of people to see that fight. And I think Whittaker might even be a bigger fight than Stylebender Blachowicz anyway at this point. I think Whittaker has gained some momentum back. He's speaking in the media quite a bit lately. He's calling for the fight, even though Dana White was saying he doesn't want it. He clearly wants it, but the people have got families to look after, and respect to him. He's changed his mindset. He's doing it the right way, and when the fight comes, I think it'll be a huge one. And I think you were saying last time that Australia is pretty much corona free. I hope that's still the case for you guys, but you can put that in a stadium, you can put that somewhere and get a crowd and make that fight happen and make it big. So I think by the time it rolls around, I think that's where we'll land. I think Glover will get his fight. I think Whittaker will get his fight, and I think everyone will be happy.
Yeah, and I mean, if Stylebender wants to fight in the meantime, there's one opponent that will fight him wherever he wants, and we all know what that fight is, and I think everyone wants to see it, but I don't think we'll get that fight. I think it likely will be one of the two, Blachowicz or Whittaker. I hope it's Whittaker, just because I think Teixeira deserves this fight. But again, if Teixeira beats Blachowicz, how fast do you think the UFC are going to want to make Stylebender versus Teixeira? Because I think that sells less than Blachowicz versus Stylebender, just because Stylebender fought on the same card as Blachowicz, so the people that bought the pay-per-view to watch him are aware of who Blachowicz is. Whereas if Teixeira is the one fighting him, it's not going to be I don't know. Just to me, it doesn't feel like it's a bigger fight. But there's no point going over that because nothing's booked now. So we'll jump onto the co-main event, which is probably the most lackluster fight on the card, in my opinion. It was pretty uneventful, is the word I'll use. Andre Arlovski coming back and taking out the rising Tanner Boser in a close fight because no one did a lot. Arlovski landed the better shots, in my opinion. I thought he looked probably crisper as well. I thought Tanner looked a bit lost in there. He wasn't willing to come forward. He respected Arlovski's power too much. And it just made for a boring fight. What did you think?
Yeah, we called it when we spoke last time, didn't we? I was saying to you, Boser's either going to go and steamroll him, knock him out, prove himself, or he's going to get this decision. It's going to be a close nip and tuck, not an in-it decision. But it was boring. I don't want to see Arlovski in a co-main event again. But he's another old dude doing the thing. Like, he's 41 himself. He's been in the game for 20 years, and he's beaten guys like Taha Boser, who was on a bit of a streak. You know, he was looking good, and they were trying to build his name off Arlovski. That's what the UFC were trying to do here. They don't want Arlovski to win this fight, but he did, and it was boring. But he was hitting him with sharp shots, and Arlovski, he's in a lot of these boring fights, but Boser's got to take some responsibility as well. He's a 29-year-old, heavyweight killer. He needs to go in there and be ripping someone's head off, and that's just not what he did. So, massive credit to Arlovski. That's all you can give him. It weren't fun, especially for me at like 4:30 in the morning. It weren't fun at all. But I'm not going to sit here and throw stick at someone like Arlovski, who's been taking these shots for years, and now he's just a bit more tactical. And we've seen heavyweights, the likes of Overeem, the prolonging their career by being more tactical, taking less shots, and going to the judges sometimes. So it's the way to go for these older guys. If you want to keep making paychecks, keep winning fights, take less damage, be a bit more boring.
Yeah, let's be honest. The stakes weren't equal in this fight. Arlovski doesn't need to go out there and knock him out to prove something, whereas Boser really needed to go out there and get a finish to prove he belongs in the higher end of the division. So it was smart for Arlovski to take his time picking apart, because what's Arlovski got to gain if he goes out there and tries to knock him out and then gets himself finished? So like you said, hard to criticize Arlovski in this one. Good win for him at this stage in his career. But what a shame for Boser, because he was one of the rising prospects that everyone thought might have a shot of being this new contender to come through. And to lose to someone like Arlovski, all things considered, like his previous stuff he's achieved in his career, right now, if you're a top guy, you should be beating Arlovski. And to lose to him, it just doesn't really look good for Boser. And he's going to have a bit of a long path to get back to one of these bigger names.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. If you're not beating Andrei Arlovski at this point, all respect to him, I think he's a brilliant fighter, and he was one of the best heavyweights ever. He's far past his best now. So if you're not knocking him out like people have done, then it's not good at all. So Boser's got to go away. He's got to work on his game. He's got to get over that hump, because he's still 29. He's still got a lot to offer, but it's not good. It's not good, and it shows that he's nowhere near ready for these guys. So maybe someone like Greg Hardy. I know Hardy's looking for that step up. Boser needs to step down. It's still a big fight, so something like that. Because Boser's still a relevant name. He seems like a fun character. I feel like he could still be relevant down the line. He just needs to take a step back, because, as I said, if you're not beating Arlovski, there's a problem.
Yeah, and I think we go from my least favourite fight of the night to my most favourite fight of the night, which was the fight of the night. Barcelos versus Taha, and this was the first time I had ever seen a coral belt in jiu-jitsu in an MMA fight, so funnily enough, not that he really relied on it too hard. What a great war between these two. Barcelos showed a technical striking ability, showed his grappling. Taha showed some durability and some great striking of his own. What did you think of this fight?
It was a brilliant fight. It was... If you want to show, a newcomer to MMA, like a great fight, you show them this, because it had a bit of everything. They were on the ground, they were on the feet. Barcelos, normal, but then Taha was tough, and he had his own stuff as well. It was a very, well-matched fight, and both of them looked great. So, first things first, just praise both men, because I think they're going to be contenders, the pair of them. But Barcelos, he looked the more primed and ready. I think he's 33 years old. As I said about the last fight, that was a dull. That one was putting me to sleep. But this one at 4 a.m, it woke me up. So it was a brilliant. And I think we've just seen the emergence of a new contender at bantamweight, which is a stacked division. So I'll be keeping an eye on Barcelos, and next time he's fighting, I'll be sure I'm tuning in.
Maybe I'm rushing to it, but I feel like you can give him a good jump here. Maybe you give him a jump to someone like Sean O'Malley or someone on Edge 15. I feel like he's got the skill and the talent to do it, because like seeing what he put on there, even though he didn't get a finish or anything, he was fighting someone that seemed equally as talented as him. Oh, not equally, he won, but pretty close. He wasn't fighting a scrub or anything, so for him not to get the finish, there's no knock on him. So I feel like you could give him the jump to like border 15 or top maybe 15. I don't know who's ranked 15, but around there. What do you think of that?
Yeah, he called off top 10, top 5. So I think that division's, wide open. A lot's happening right now with COVID. People are always falling out. If he stays ready, he could get a big fight. If Chimaev can go from unranked to fighting the number 3 in the world in Leon Edwards, Barcelos can get himself a top 15, top 10, top 5 fight. I don't see anything wrong with it, especially in these weird times of having him. He's a fun fighter, and I think Sean O'Malley's out there. It's similar to what we just said about Boser. There's big fights outside that top 15 at bantamweight. So I'm sure Barcelos will be happy with whoever he gets next, but I think it will be a top guy. He's 33. He looks primed, ready to go. Let's start pushing him. Let's start getting him in these big fights because he looked great.
Absolutely. And someone else that looked great before that was Giga Takadzi against Jamie Simons. He went out there, awesome KO, probably my favorite finish of the whole card. Not that it was that many finishes from memory, but that was probably my favorite. And that was that beautiful. It was a body kick he threw to set up his high kick straight after and put him out with that. And it looked fantastic. Showed his striking pedigree. He called out Jeremy Stevens after that. And Jeremy Stevens actually tweeted out and said he's interested in that fight. So maybe that's the one we see next. What do you think?
Just to start on that fight, I don't know what's wrong with Arnold Allen, but now Jeremy Stevens is dodging that fight too for someone who's even ranked Takadzi. So that's a weird one. But back to the actual fight, I think he looked great. I think it was a fight he was expected to go and win because Jamie Simmons was a late notice replacement, and Takadzi, I want to see him fight these good fights now. So I hope he fights someone like Jeremy Stevens because so far it hasn't. He's getting a lot of hype, but I don't think the opponents he is beating are worthy of the hype he's getting right now. I want to see him in there with the best. It doesn't mean he can't beat them. I just don't think he's proved that he's of that level yet. But the actual KO was beautiful because it was body, head, it was perfect timing. The one thing I just want to point out, and it seems like a very small point, James Simmons, he had that big afro, that big hair. He didn't tie it back. He didn't braid it or anything like that. And just as he goes like that, brushes his hair aside because it's getting in his eyes, and then he eats a bit body shot, and it's pretty much all over. So it was a weird thing, but at the time I was thinking his hair's just cost him this fight. Why? It was just a weird one that I picked up on when I was watching, and Jamie Simmons, tie your hair back next time because I think that might cost him, especially against a guy like Takadzi. You can't just be moving your hands for no reason. But brilliant show by Takadzi, first finish in the UFC. Looks like big things next.
Yeah, and that Jeremy Stevens fight would be a big jump in competition. So hopefully we see that or something around there just to see what he's really made of. Before that, we had probably the highest ranked contenders, but I forgot about the main event. Probably the second highest ranked contenders on this card, which was Claudia Gadelha versus Jan Zianan. So Jan, they took each other on, and Gadelha just got outclassed for 3 rounds, in my opinion. I think she won the first from memory, but the last two, was it the first she won or was it the second? I thought it was 1-1 going to the third, but she looked like she was fading, and she looked like she was definitely losing the fight. Jan was able to defend the takedowns and just dance around her on the feet. What did you think of this one?
Yeah, Jan looked good. I think it was a good win. She's another one I'm not getting carried away with yet. I know that's a big significant win, but again, Goodell is someone who a lot of people think lost to Angela Hill in the last one. Angela Hill's not even ranked top 10, so I don't want to get carried away with Jan. I know some people are. I'm already seeing people matching up against the champion Zhang, so I'm not there yet. I don't think she looked good. She's got crisp striking. There was a lot to like. I just don't think she dealt with Goodell well. Like really, it was a really close fight. I thought technically Goodell got the first, Jan got the second, then the third. Goodell was able to control a lot of the fight by just pressing her up the clinch, and I was thinking, Jan might get done here on the cards, but she got the decision, and I'm glad she did because she does look like a potential contender. I'm just not fully on the hype train yet. I want to see it in there with another one of the top girls, and I think she can do it. She clearly got the talent, and that fight against Zhang would be a massive fight down the line. I'm just not fully sold yet, so look forward to her next one.
Yeah, and I think I saw talks of the Ribas and Waterson winner facing off against Jan, which I think is a good fight for whoever ends up winning that fight, just to jump up the rankings there, and it would set up a possibly a number one contenders fight, depending on how soon Rose fights against Zhang or what happens up there. So I think that would be the logical next step. Otherwise, people were talking about giving her JJ, which is another good fight in my opinion, another step up for her. And I don't think she's ready for a title shot yet. I'm 100% not on this bandwagon of pushing her to a title shot right now. She did look good. She looked like she had crisp striking and decent takedown defense, but I just don't think she looked like. I didn't see a champion in her in that fight. You know, I need to see more out of her, in my opinion. So giving her someone like JJ or Rebaz or Waterson really gives her a chance to showcase what she's made of, and you'd think it'd be in a main event spot if she versus any of those three fighters, right? So.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but I think she's clearly talented. I just think she needs a couple more. That was the biggest win to date. No doubt about it. Goodell is a legit fighter, but I'd say she's probably on the downslide at this point in time. Yarn's on the up, so yeah, someone like JJ, the Watson Rebus winner. I think if she beats the Watson Rebus winner, that's a number one contender fight. I think that's a big fight.
Mm-hmm.
Beating JJ would be a huge fight as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if after Namajunas, Zhang's next fight, or the winner of that fight would fight Yan down the line. I think it is a big fight down the line, that all Chinese fight. But she's got to get there. She needs to beat at least one more person, maybe two.
Yeah, we'll jump on to some prelims, and I'll pick out one first. And obviously, I'm going to pick the one everyone was probably thinking of from the event, which was Max Griffin against Brahimaj, and he elbowed him in the ear, and his ear almost fell off. That was gory as I've never seen anything that bad. I have, but not in a while. That's definitely an eye-opener, and immediately it was stopped, as it should have been, and Griffin looked terrified of what he'd done. He was apologizing or saying something. Yeah, he didn't know what happened.
Yeah, I think he was literally like, "Oh my God, what have I done?" So it was a weird, like, it's weird seeing them. You see them, for someone's ear falling off, pretty much. You see it quite a lot in MMA. It's happened a few times, but that one was a nasty one, and it was a perfectly timed elbow. So credit to Max Griffin, who was winning that fight anyway. He looked good, but it was a weird scene, because it's just you seen the fighter kind of grab up and hold his ear just to try and keep it on, which is just it was a weird one. And then the guy takes to Twitter or Instagram, and he's just like, "Oh, it's just a scratch." So these guys are so tough, and I think that was his UFC debut. So I look forward to seeing him again. He's clearly a very tough guy. With them injuries, I'm hoping it's just something that looks worse than it is, because it's just unattached. So hopefully a few stitches. And how unlucky do you have to be for something like that to happen twice? So hopefully we don't see a lot more of them. But yeah, it's a weird one, and it was nasty.
Yeah, I'll throw it to you to grab whatever prelims you want to speak about.
I want to give a shout out to Romanov, because he looked weird. He looked great, and it was a weird submission he pulled off, a forearm choke. It was just like a real bully boy tactic, where he just leant on someone and he had all that weight, and he looked great. I think that was his debut as well. So he's clearly got great grappling. Maybe right now for the upper echelon to heavyweight, he's a bit easy to hit. That's the only thing I've got to put him down about. But I'm sure he'll work on that. And he's definitely one to look out for, because he was taking people down and then immediately scooting into side control and just moving into dominant positions so easily. So for sure, someone to watch out for. He seems to have a lot of talent, and hopefully a few little tweaks and he can be a contender.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was a really impressive submission, because to me, when I was watching it, I thought he was just cross-throating him, as you do, just to annoy them, make them push your arm away. But the guy went unconscious, so I was like, what happened there? But impressive stuff. I'm excited to see what he does, because like you said, there's not a lot of great wrestlers or great grapplers in the heavyweight division. It's mostly dominated by power punchers. So it's refreshing to see someone like that come through. And yeah, it'll just be as a matter of how far can he get before he gets hit, and can he take a hit, that'll be remain to see. We don't know yet, but good start for him, isn't it?
Yeah, it was brilliant performance, and I think he got a performance of the night bonus. So very, very deserved. And if you're going to be a heavyweight, I've said a few times I don't like the push fight as a heavyweight. It doesn't particularly work for me. If you're going to be a heavyweight and you've got all that 200 and probably 60 pounds on you, get people on the mat and just dominate them as much as you can, because it works. And You can take so much less damage, and one punch can change you, and Arlovski knows that, and that's why he's very tentative these days. And a heavyweight, grab them, take them down, avoid taking as much punishment as you can, and he's got the right tactic. Let's see how far he can go with it.
Absolutely. Is there any other prelims you want to touch on?
Not particularly.
All right, we'll jump on to this weekend's card, which is UFC Fight Night blank versus Dos Santos, because today Islam Makhachev pulled out of the card. He has an injury, undisclosed injury, so he won't be competing on this weekend's event, which leaves the event without one half of their main event. And on a pretty bare card, it's a major loss for this card to lose Islam on this. What do you think they do? Who do you think they give Dos Santos? Because he is looking for a replacement. Do you think he gets a replacement? And who do you think it is?
Yeah, well, first things first, it's so sad to see Makhachev fall out of this one, because it just seemed like his time, with Khabib retiring. He said he's retired, and he's reiterated that despite what Dana says and despite what people think, he said he's retired. So we've got to take him at his word. Khabib retiring, it just seemed like Makhachev's time, to come in and be the guy, be the next, representation for, Russia and Dagestan, and it's just a shame to see him fall out. So I think they will replace him, because, as you've just said, it's a weak card as it is, and they need Dos Anjos in there. Dos Anjos is still a relevant name. He's still worthy of being at the top of cards. You just need the right opponent now. So I really don't know who to go with, because I feel like a lot of these lightweights have tough cuts. So who's going to be ready? Who's in shape? Drew Dober was supposed to fight. I think it was on this card. He was supposed to fight somewhere around here. Can he slip in? Is he still in shape? It really is just about who is in the gym, who's ready. And I'm sure there'll be people who want to answer the call. It's just if they're prepared to do so. So hopefully they get someone. I'm just not sure who it'll be.
Well, RDA asked for Michael Chandler, but I don't think that's ever happening. I think they're trying to keep Michael Chandler at the top of the division. Although I think that would be a great fight, especially for Michael Chandler to come into the UFC and fight a former champion like RDA. Just don't think it happens. I think more realistically, you're going to see, like you said, a Drew Dober, a Beneil Dariush. Who else is around that ranking? Maybe Felder can't take it on short notice, I don't think. Someone like that. What is there any names stick out to you?
I wouldn't be surprised to see Chandler step in there. I feel like he's fight ready. He's just although he didn't fight, he's coming off a camp basically, or he's coming off a cut where he was on that money, he was on that championship weight. So how far could he have strayed from that in 2 weeks? And he's been talking about wanting to fight. And I think RDA, although he's unranked, because he's been competing at welterweights, he's still, I think a win over him would propel Chandler into the the up echelon of the division, maybe top 5 even. So I think there's a lot to gain, and Chandler seems a guy who's down for whatever with the UFC. He seems to be one of them guys who's definitely for the cause. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him step in. I think that'd be a huge fight as well. Besides that, as you said, Drew Dober does stick out to me. I feel like he may be close to his fighting weight. He may be ready to go. Quinteris took fights on short notice. If he's knocking about Charles Oliveira, he's a 145er, or has competed at 145 for most of his career. So how much weight does he cut for lightweight? Interesting, but I feel like it's a huge opportunity for one of these guys who wouldn't usually get this type of showcase fight. This is the biggest fight of the weekend. It's a main event slot. Someone needs to grab it with both hands, because the UFC, a win here, I feel like it propels them top 5.
Yeah, you'd think top 5, or if not top 5, at least they're going to get more recognition in the division. You win in a main event against a former champion, good things are coming to you after that. And I don't know any other names out there other than the ones we've mentioned. Maybe Dan Hooker, but there's no way that happens. He's in New Zealand. They couldn't get him over there in time. So it'd have to be someone who's around in the States, or around that geographical location to get there and cut the weight. I feel like I would like to see Chandler take this fight. I just don't think it's realistic, but I think this is probably a winnable fight for both guys. And that's a fair fight, and especially coming in on a week's notice. And neither guy is prepared for a similar fighter to the other, so it would just be an interesting fight, and we'd definitely see where Chandler is in terms of skill and how he's going to do in the UFC. He's a former Bellator champion. He's going to go off and fight a former UFC champion. We'll just really get to see the metrics between the two organizations there. But yeah, any last thoughts about this fight?
Well, I'm just looking at the rankings now, and it's very unlikely, but I just want to mention it because Tony Ferguson is a madman, so you never know. He's always in training. He's always, he seems happy to be cutting weight even when he doesn't need to. So I'm sure he'd cut weight for this one. I do think like we're gonna get an announcement. I feel like it's gonna be uh, in the next day or so. It's got to be soon, and I hope it's a really good fight. But I do feel we're gonna get a replacement. I'm really excited to see who it is.
Mhm.
Ferguson Chandler would be optimistic shout from myself. People like Oliveira, I like Quinta, and maybe Drew Dober are more likely. And I hope one of them goes and grabs it because it's a massive chance.
Yeah, I mean, Ferguson's already fought RDA and he battered him over 5 rounds, so I don't know if he'd be willing to take it again. There's not really any upside for him taking this fight. But all the other names you said, great fights. Hopefully get one of them. Or what do you think about this? What do you think about this? Maybe, because they definitely need something in this card. We can both agree on that. There's no, like the card needs a main event. Maybe RDA gets the boot. Maybe they can't find him a fight, and they actually I've got two thoughts I've gone on here. Firstly, they can't get RDA in opponents. They do two other fighters in any division that are ready to go, that are high ranked fighters. I don't know who is kicking about. Let me think. Maybe you could even do the Charles Oliveira versus who they wanted to fight. Tony Ferguson or like any of those people. Like, what do you think about replacing the entire main event? Do you think that's a possibility?
No, I think RDA sticks with it, but they might ask him to, fight at a catch weight or fight someone at
Mm.
170. Um, it's all depends, They might get a 145 to step up. What's Max Holloway up to? Where's he at? Does he want to move up to 155? It's an opportunity, and I feel like someone's gonna grab it, but it could be, RDA might have to go to 170, a 145, it might jump up. Anything can happen at this point, but I feel like the UFC will be determined to fill that slot because I don't know. Is anyone going to tune in if Al Hassan against Chaos Williams is the main event of the evening? They're really not, and I feel like this card was reliant on this fight. It was a weak card, and it was all about this fight. It was all about this fight, and it's fell off now. So Dos Anjos, he brings something to the table. He's still got a name. He's still a relevant fighter. Just need to match him against someone who's worthy of it, and we're back on track. And I think they'll manage to do that. UFC have pulled off much bigger things in just the last few months alone, so I'm sure they'll sort this one out.
Yeah, watch him do Khamzat Chimaev versus RDA at 170, and that's probably my best guess. Like, if UFC wants to build Khamzat, like, give him this fight, but maybe not realistic. Aside from that, there's not really much on this card. Is there any other fights on here you want to grab, or?
Well, we mentioned it then. It was Al Hassan against Chaos Williams, which, although I don't think it's worthy of main event, I think it's worthy of mentioning. I think it's a really good, fun fight. I think Al Hassan, he had a layoff, and then he got outpointed by that Laziz guy
Mhm.
who looked sensational back on Fight Island a few months ago. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. He shook off the ring rust. Some people don't believe in it, some people do. I tend to do, and I think he looked a bit rusty against a really good guy as well. And Cass Williams, I feel like these two can make for a really fun fight. Besides that, there's one I don't know where it's placed on the card, but Kay Hansen against Corey McKenna, who's making a UFC debut, is a really fun fight for me. I think they're both early 20s, really young girls. Kay Hansen has one fight in UFC. Corey McKenna's making a UFC debut. She looked brilliant on the regional scene where I'm from in the UK. So it's two really good prospects meeting each other very, very early on in the career. So I'm just interested to see how them two do. And then besides that, you've got Todd Duffy against Philip Lynn. So that's worth looking out for. Heavyweight, brawl it should be. But as you said, it's not the strongest card, and we need a main event.
Yeah, I think aside from that, I'm looking at the card now. Reece McKee's on it. He obviously had that loss to Khamzat because he's a lightweight, and he's a lightweight, but he's fighting at welterweight again. This just confuses me.
That's a strange one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's fighting someone who's fought at middleweight as well, in Alex I don't know what's going on with Reece McKee. We need to try and get an interview with him because he's not a big guy for welterweight. He's nowhere near a big guy for welterweight. And I thought we'd be seeing him at lightweight, but is he just doing the UFC a favour again and just taking a fight on short notice? I don't know. We'll try and get a chat with him and see what his what his plan is for the future, because fighting welterweight in the UFC doesn't seem the way to go. But maybe he's got other ideas.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But like I said, pretty bare card. So we'll see what we get in terms of main event. But otherwise, yeah, going to be a great weekend of fights. We'll jump on to some news. And I have here first, let me just drag it on my screen. First thing I will jump on was Darren Till's injured. Jack Hermansson will now fight Kevin Holland, who had a win last weekend. I think that's a great move. I think Kevin Holland deserves something big. He's 4-0 this year. He's taken all these newcomers to the UFC just because he's had opponents fall out and whatnot. And he's just looked spectacular in all his fights. So I think he does deserve a jumping competition. Was this how far I thought they were going to jump him? No, not at all. But hey, good for him. If you get a win here, that stylebender fight is much, much more realistic than he was portraying it to be last weekend.
Yeah, it's a brilliant stage he's got, and very well deserved, because he's been, the gamest guy of the year, and it's in a year where we've had a lot of really game fighters, willing to jump at a moment's notice. But I think Holland stands out to me because he's willing to fight anyone and everyone, and this just shows it again. We've seen it throughout his career. I think he stepped up and fought Thiago Santos on late notice as well, I think it was, or was it someone else? I can't remember, but he took a massive fight on late notice. And I feel like there's a huge opportunity for him. If he's going to call out Adesanya, go in there, beat Jack Hermansson. And if Adesanya's looking for a fight at the end of the year, you know Kevin Holland's going to take it. So, or the start of next year, I just think it's such a huge opportunity for him. And sad to see Darren Till fall out, but it always did seem a bit optimistic for me to be booking that fight while he's still clearly healing up from an injury to his knee from the Whittaker fight. And also, if you take one glance at his Instagram, it seems like he's on the business trail right now. He doesn't seem to be training a lot. So I imagine that injury's still nicking in there, and he's just being a bit optimistic with that. So he'll be back next year. I do expect Hermansson to get the win, but Holland's a game guy, and he'll be in there.
Yeah, it's an interesting fight because obviously Hermansson, we know his bread and butter is his grappling, his ground and pound especially, not so much his grappling. Although his grappling's good, his ground and pound, his top control is really where he shines. Kevin Holland's no scrub on the ground. I said it before his last fight. I said it before every fight we've broken down. He's got great jiu-jitsu. We just don't see him really use it. And it'll be interesting to see if he can use it as offense off his back. Although he's been submitted, let's be honest. He's been submitted. I think Brendan Allen did it from memory. So he's not unfinishable on the ground. But it'll be interesting to see where this fight takes place, because on the feet, it's either guy's fight, in my opinion. Kevin Holland gets hit a lot, but he has power, and he's good at using his range and getting into the clinch and throwing elbows. So I think this is a fair fight. I really do, and I probably do favour Hermansson, like you said. But it is a fair fight. As for Till, he's going and making his beers or whatever he's doing. I'd love to get a carton of that Raw Dog beer or whatever it is. But unfortunately, I don't think we can get it in Australia. But, he'll be back, and I think definitely on his return, he'll get a high-ranked opponent, let's be honest. He was going to get number 4 here coming off a loss. So he'll get whoever's kicking around that. If Kamzat gets a big win over Leon Edwards and then he can't fight for a belt, maybe they jump him up and he gets that Till fight in middleweight or something like that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Till. Excited for this main event. Is it the main event? Yeah, December 5th main event.
Yeah, I do expect Hermansson to, try and drag this one to the floor. I think Holland's a really talented striker, and he has been subbed a couple of times, although he is a good wrestler. I think Hermansson's reaching down, try and tap him, or just dominate the fight on the floor. I think he is the better grappler. He's ready. He's ready for that, title shot. He's there. Holland, as impressive as he's been, he hasn't been fighting the best level of competition. Darren Stewart's the best one, and that was a really close fight. So this is a couple of levels he's jumping, and it's a huge, opportunity. But it's also the odds are going to be stacked against them, but that's the whole point. You don't just get these opportunities, and they're not just going to give him a gimme. This is a really tough fight, but he's a tough fighter, and he's 28 years old, and he seems ready for the top level. So let's see how he does.
Yeah, excited for that one. And another piece of news I got here is Corey Anderson fought this past week against Melvin Manhoff at Bellator 251 from memory. And he just went out there and did what he was meant to do, and he dominated the fight and found a finish in the second round. Was it by TKO? I feel like it was. I could be wrong. No, I think it was TKO. And he just dominated that fight. It wasn't even close. But as he was meant to do, I mean, Melvin Manhoff's a bit older. He's a bit further on in his career. He's had some losses. he's not what he used to be. So this was a bit of a layup for Anderson. So it was good to see him get the win, though.
It's a good weekend for Bellator, overall. We've seen Scott Coker speaking about how strong his light heavyweight division is. And, Corey Anderson's joined that now. He's picked up a big win. He looks like the next in line. Not only is Corey Anderson, a huge a huge fighter and a really talented one, he's the last guy to beat Glover Teixeira, who looks like the second best light heavyweight in the UFC roster right now. So, that's a really good, if they're going to carry on that argument, this is a good thing to say. Corey Anderson's our number one guy. Your number one guy is Glover, and our guy beat your guy a couple of years back. So yeah, good weekend for them. Corey Anderson, I'm glad to see him getting a shine against a legend he beat there in Manhoff, and now he'll get a title shot, I think.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how he does in that. It'll really show you where the Bellator light heavyweight division is, because we haven't really had a metric like Corey Anderson, who's at the peak of his career. I think he's at the peak, yeah. He's still up there. Like, most of the light heavyweights that have come over from the UFC to Bellator have been guys later on in their career, like Chael and Lyoto Machida, middleweights that have gone up and then a bit come over when they're later on in their career. So it's not been a very good gauge at where the opposition is in terms of Bellator's talent. So it'll be really good to see someone at the peak of their game that was in the peak in the UFC and now in the peak of Bellator, see how far they can get. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. The last piece of news I have is Stephen Thompson's it's in the works. It's not official. In the works to fight Jeff Neal in the co-main event on December 19th.
Yeah, that I love that one. That's more like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He obviously wanted that Edwards fight, and fair play to him. But I think Edwards, well, he did have bigger fish to fry. Now he's got Jimmy Ever. I don't know what he is yet. So, but Jeff Neal seems to be that guy who's been on the edge of doing big things for a while, and it hasn't quite happened for him yet. But now he's got a huge fight against Thompson, who's another huge name, and I think whoever wins this fight is one fight away from a title shot. I think it's a very significant fight for the welterweight division, which is, it's a bit stagnant right now. It doesn't seem clear what's happening, so anyone can emerge as a contender. And I think, Jeff Neal's getting that fight he deserves. And Wonderboy, it's always great to see him fight.
Absolutely, and I think it's a pretty competitive fight. I know a lot of people are writing Neal off because of how dominant Wonderboy's been, and his really only slip-up that I can think of from memory was that fight against Pettis, where Pettis caught him after being battered for 2 rounds. But I think this is definitely a competitive fight. Jeff Neal's got great hands, he's got great boxing, he's got a decent kicking arsenal, nothing like Stephen Thompson, but he's got a decent, well-rounded striking arsenal. So it'll be interesting. I do favour Wonderboy just because his distance control and his ability to throw his kicks and whatnot. But yeah, competitive fight. I'm interested in seeing where it goes.
Yeah, very, very competitive. I don't think Jeff Neal will be, worried going into this fight. I think he's looking at that Pettis fight, which weren't long ago, and he's thinking, I'll just close the distance and try and put bombs on his chin. Wonderboy, he looked great against Vicente Luque, but that's just one fight against Luque, who, in my opinion, is not, a top guy yet. So it's a 50-50 fight for me. And I edge Wonderboy just because he's been there, he's done that, he's beat really good guys. But Jeff Neal, he's coming up, he's coming up strong. So this is his chance, and I'm sure he'll be wanting to take it.
Absolutely, and that's all the news I had. Do you have anything else before we wrap it up?
Just the last one. Did you see Kevin Lee's head tattoo?
I saw that head tattoo. Not my personal taste, but he wants to embody the warrior spirit, so good on him.
You think he'd be in enough pain doing rehab on all his, I'm sure he's got double ACL, whatever he's done to his knees. And then he just thinks, oh yeah, I'll tattoo my head as well. These fighters are made of something else. But yeah, that was a weird one. But that's all I had, really.
Yeah, I can't imagine that's the most comfortable place to get tattooed. But I suppose with that, we'll wrap it up. Thanks for watching, guys. And we'll speak to you next week to recap the event that we don't know who it's going to be headlined by. But I guess we'll see. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks, guys.